Hey guys, I'm Azra, and in this Lord of the Rings Rise to War video, I will show you a guide about Gorbag. So right off the bat, let's have a look at the skill tree and establish what his strengths and weaknesses are. Looking at his respect 0 abilities, we have Interrogator here. In my opinion, this is totally garbage. You won't get any value out of this because first of all, it needs 2 rounds to charge up before it gets unleashed on the 3rd round, so it is already taking a lot of time before it takes effect. And also the effect isn't that great. It says enemy stunned or subject to madness, damage received by 6% by a certain percentage for 1 round. This isn't great because we aren't really applying madness on a regular basis to get any value out of this, and also it's just every 3 rounds this kicks in. Not great. What is also not great is restraint, because this kicks in every 4 rounds, and the effect is against 2 enemy units, a certain percentage chance to inflict stun for 1 round. This just takes too long. Let's just completely skip this skill tree because I think this is garbage. This should totally be reworked on. Instead, we would like to go on Old Orc because Old Orc is giving us plus focus. Plus focus means we mitigate damage, and it also enables us to go into dress wounds. Now this is what we would like to have because now we can heal 1 unit type. And this is so strong that you can even solo with 1 unit type, let's say Reapers, the Heart of a Hero event. You can now solo with your Gorbag if you have maxed this talent out. Dragons, horns, or spiders, and so on. So this is great for the event. I would definitely go with Old Orc and Dressed Wounds. But moving on to our respect 3-3, we now get to unlock Grey Leader as well as Orcish Warlock. And I think this is one of Gorbag's strengths, damage mitigation. Because here, once you max it out, you get a flat damage decrease by minus 15% for your Orcs troops, while also give increased HP to your Orc group. So, this, paired with Orcish Warlock, you further decrease the damage your Orcs receive by, when you max it out, 14%. Look how great this is when you pair Orcish Warlock with Grey Leader. Both together decrease the damage you receive by minus 29%. And also you give some speed for your Orcs, which is always a quality of life change to have, because now you can move faster from A to B, just as a side effect. We'll take it. Move on to his R5 ability, Watchman of Cirith Ungol. And I really like this ability because once you have enough points to spend, you get not just only damage increase with this, you also get madness immunity for your Orcs, which is nice. We will be using Orcs only anyway with Gorbag. Madness immunity gives us a lot to play around with. That is great. And also we have Corruption Curse. This to give us a chance of 30% to inflict an enemy with madness every 3 rounds. And is also dealing a bit of poison damage. It's okay, we will take it, which is also a debuff that is going to be applied. Okay, so far so good. This is great to have. We will spend 1 point into this. And Rage, now this is where Gorbag is going nuts, because Enrage paired with Watchman of Cirith Ungol is giving a huge damage increase for your Orc troops. And since you're immune to madness anyway, with maxing out Watchman of Cirith Ungol, you don't have to be afraid of the effect that is applying madness to your allied units. Like, it has a 30% chance to applying madness to your unit, but it doesn't count. Watchman of Cirith Ungol is nullifying that effect. So, let's first establish what you would be doing if you are starting a new game and you are leveling your Gorbag. What I tend to do is I first go always into Grey Leader, spend 2 points into this, and I go 1 point into Orcish Warlock, and back and forth. 2 points into Grey Leader, 1 point into Orcish Warlock, and so on. But to fasten things up, let's say you have finished maxing this out. Grey Leader 15, Orcish Warlock also 15. Then what I like to do is go into self-sustain. I now go back to my R0 ability, Old Orc, 2 points into this, 1 point into Dressed Wounds, just to have the self-sustain going on. Because we want to have as many troops survive as possible. We are in our leveling phase. We need the troops to get more tiles. How do we get more tiles? Just letting our troops survive with Grey Leader, Turkish Warlord, and heal them. So we complete this too. Let's speed things up. And there we go. Now, after you have completed your R0 skill tree and R3 skill tree like this, you are now ready to change your skill tree to a more damage heavy skill tree. And it would look something like this. You know, reset this. And you are now ready to commit into Watchman of Kirith Ungol, because we want the immune to madness ability right out the bat. Let's get going. We completely spent all of our points into this. Spent 1 point into corrupting curse just to have the madness is a quality of life change. And then we commit all of our points into enrage. And now we go back into Grey Leader. We play the same game. Damage mitigation, back and forth. But we just want to speed things up for this video. And then, when you have points left, or whatever points you get after this, you spend into Old Orc and into Dressed Wounds. This is the game you're gonna play the whole time. 2 points into Old Orc, 1 point into Dressed Wounds. But we're gonna speed things up. My Gorbag is already at respect level 13, which is why I can complete all of this skill trees. And this, in my opinion, is Gorbag's best skill tree he can have, because we are mitigating damage by a huge margin, while also increasing the damage of our orc units by a big percentage number, as well as inflicting to 30% madness, which is always nice to have, and self-sustaining our units. And I think, in my opinion, this skill tree works the best with orcs anyway. Let's move on to his gear. Now here we are at his blue gear, and in my opinion, the best weapon he can equip is the broadaxe, because the broadaxe is bringing might as well as some attack for his melees. Paired with the flavor melee might, there isn't anything that is topping this weapon in my opinion. The rough breastplate is giving him some big might, as well as some defenses to mitigate physical damage he receives, and also melee vigor, which is reducing the damage he receives by -1%. This isn't just for physical damage, but also for elemental damage. Then we move on to the old task, a lot of might, and also melee vigor for some extra damage mitigation. Cool. That was easy. Let's move on to his purple gear. And I know that there will be some people in the comment section who will say, hey, why did you choose this weapon? I don't see that this makes any sense. But let me explain. So, the battle axe, right? Guys, this is giving you a huge chunk of might, while also giving your Gorbag a chance of 50% to inflict to one troop type of the enemy -6 when you haven't maxed it out, or -36% if you have maxed it out, the damage of the enemy troop for 1 round. And I think this is huge, because Gorbag is already strong in damage mitigation. If you now further increase that by reducing the damage the enemy troops are dealing to you, you will have a lot of troops left whom you can boost with your R5 abilities. So this is my logic behind it. This is why I consider Battle Axe with Concussion the best weapon with this flavor for him. But if you want to be more on the aggressive side, feel free to go with Cutlass and Melee Might, because this has not just only good might stats, some speed, but also attack plus for your melees and melee might. If you are the more aggressive type, by all means, go with your Cutlass. I will be going with Battle Axe and Concussion. Looking at his armor, I think the best armor he can equip is the Goblin armor. It is giving good might stats, paired with some focus and also defensive stats for his orcs. But it is also bringing Orcs Vigor to the table, because now you further decrease the damage you receive by -6% if you have maxed it out. And this goes so well with your R3 skill. If you don't have this, you always have the ability to switch over to the Scale Mail. It is kind of working in the same way Goblin armor does, but the stats are a bit different. But it isn't that big of a change. Like, I think Scale Mail is also decent, has also melee vigor, basically the same effect. We will be staying on with our orc units anyway, so if you can't get goblin armor, you always have scale armor as an escape. But if you aren't lucky and you don't have goblin armor and scale mail, you can still switch over to your superior halberd. It has great might stats paired with decent defenses and is also paired with melee vigor. You can go damage mitigation with this as well. But what is also nice to consider is Shroud, because dodging the first hits is always nice to have. If you have maxed it out, it is a chance of 60% to evade the first damage you can receive, which is a decent number to work around with. Pick whatever you think is your playstyle. Now, moving on to his helmet. In my opinion, the best helmet he can have is the Bone Mask. It is bringing might, focus, and HP, but also it has manipulate, and not many people are playing with this, but I think this goes so well with Gorbag. With Gorbag's damage mitigation kit, because now every 2 rounds, and this starts with the first round by the way, you can reduce the damage of the enemy troop. And if you have maxed it out, it will be a minus 42% damage decrease for one enemy troop type for 1 round. I think this is the best helmet in the game for commanders like Gorbag. I have been using Hysteria the whole of Season 2, and I must say now, playing with Manipulate in Season 3, I think that is much more viable than Hysteria. But hey guys, whatever, lets your boat float. If you are the more aggressive type, just go with Hysteria. I'll be sticking to Manipulate. Now, if you don't have Bone Mask and you want to make do with something else, you still have the Full Helm. And I think the Full Helm has a nice mechanic to it. It is giving you a big chunk of might, and it is accompanied by the special effect Inspire. Now, this can be nice to have, because imagine if this procs for your warlords, and your warlords are already ignoring 50% of the armor the enemy units have, and they deal a decent amount of damage anyway. Imagine them having a 30% damage boost whenever they attack. I think that can be devastating. Just to take note. Also, Inspire is nice to have if you have the Heart of the Hero, because now your Reapers get every 2 rounds a 30% damage increase, which will allow you to get more of those Heart of the Hero kills in. So it is nice to have, it is nice to consider. I still think that Bone Mask with Manipulate is better. So looking into the accessories, I think Drums of Moria is the best choice you can have here, paired with Taste of Soldiers for the nice quality of life change, because orc units, melee units aren't the fastest. But if you want to deal more damage, go with Bane of Dwarves. This will give you a little more oomph against dwarven units. But if you don't have the Drums of Moria, you still have the possibility of going with Sheath of the White Hand. It gives you decent might, a big chunk of focus, and also defensive stats, which is always nice to have for, let's say, warlords or reapers who aren't that strong in their defenses. Now, moving on to our legendary gear, I think this is where Gorbag becomes scary. I think if you give him the right gear here, he will become a monster who can totally go toe-to-toe with T3 commanders. Let's get started. The Black Mace with the special effect Dominate. Now, why am I so biased with the Black Mace? It is giving you lots of might, a bit of focus, and plus attack for your orcs, which is all you want for your orcs. This is already great to have for Gorbag. Now, Gorbag being a troop boosting commander makes him weak against high commander damage, and this is where I think Dominate is his #1 choice if it comes to the flavor. Now you just reduce the damage the enemy commander is dealing to you, so you can unleash your orcs, get a damage boost from his R5 ability. And I think if you do this, your Gorbag will be competitive with any T3 hero. Just a speculation, but let's consider this possibility. Now, if you don't have Dominate, let's say you have Panic, that is great to have too, because now you can just inflict Madness, and Madness is always nice to have. I think this is okay, but once you get Dominate, switch over to Dominate. Now, let's look at Gorbag's Respect 10 weapon, Glaive of Minas Morgul. I do think that it has decent stats. It has might, focus, as well as plus attack for his orcs, which is already great, but it is also bringing plus defenses to the table, which his warlords and reapers desperately need. Now, warlords you get when you play Gundabad, but in Season 3 I have been playing with Warlords and I see they do need those plus defenses desperately. But that still doesn't mean that Glaive of Minas Morgul is replacing the Black Mace. If you have the Black Mace, stay with Black Mace and dominate. Don't get rid of your Black Mace to strengthen your Glaive of Minas Morgul. That's not worth it. If you still have some legendary weapons to spare in order to increase your Glaive of Minas Morgul, by all means, go crazy, strengthen your Glaive of Minas Morgul. Looking at the armor Gorbag can equip, I think Warborn Battleplate is still the best choice he has because, once again, lots of might, defenses for his Warlords and Reapers, plus speed. His Warlords are slow, and in general his melee troops are slow. This is a quality of life changer, but Fortitude of Soldiers is the flavor we are looking at, giving him another flat damage mitigation of 9% once you max this out. This works so great with his Respect 3 skills. Now if you don't have the Warborn Battle Plate, you can still switch over to the Tracker Plate. This has decent might and focus as well as high defenses, which is always nice to have. And it has also resilience of orcs if you are more into defenses. Having a look at his helmet, I can immediately say that the Warhelm is the best helmet he can equip because not just only has this the best stats he can have, also accompanied by plus defenses for orcs, it also have Resolve of Orcs, which is giving your orcs, once you max this out, a 100% chance to gain stun immunity. Guys, how crazy is this? Gorbag is already madness immune with his Respect 5 skill, Watchman of Kirith Ungol when you max it out. But if you equip this and max it out, you also get 100% stun immunity. Nothing can stop your Gorbag now. This is such a great item with this flavor. But if you are unlucky, if you don't have this flavor and you're holding on to it until you get this flavor, you can still make do with Fortitude of Orcs. Damage mitigation is his strength. Let's further increase that strength. Looking at his accessories, I think the Palantir of Orphan is still the best choice he has. This is giving okay stat with might and focus, also accompanied with plus attack. But what we are looking at is tactical mark because we want to ensure our troops to get those first hits in, especially against elven units or Gil-galad with his ability to make his elven units dodge. Now if you don't have tactical mark, you can still go with Might of Soldiers because this will go so well with his damage boosting abilities at R5. If you don't have the Palantir of Orphank, by all means just switch over to the Drums of Barad-dûr. This has great stats as well, a bit more heavy to might, but that's also great to have. Also plus attack for your melees, and it can be accompanied by Might of Soldiers as a special effect. If you don't have this, you can still switch over to Iron Guard, then you will have more self-sustain going on. I think this Gorbag can be a monster once you get a hold of this gear, and I consider Gorbag to be one of the strongest heroes in the game. And this is kind of funny if you consider he's a T1 hero, right? But yeah, Gorbag definitely one of the strongest heroes in the game. Now let's jump over to the troop composition. Let me show you what I have been running being a Gundabad player. Being a Gundabad gives us access to the Warlords, which is, I think, the best unit to have for Gorbag because these guys are monsters. They already have great damage, which is being boosted with Gorbag's Respect 5 skills. They also have unlimited power, which is ignoring 50% of the target's defense, which is huge. And they get to hit melees as well as ranged units in the enemy team composition when they have both equipped in their army. I think this is such a devastating combination you can have. Now, if you are sure that your enemy will be running ranged and melees because you know that they are playing, let's say, Lindon or Arnor or Lothlorien, they tend to be ranged heavy, then you can even consider taking out your riders and just stick to a 50-50 comp like this, like Reapers as well as Warlords. This is dealing great damage to them. They just can't survive the burst damage Gorbag is bringing to the table. But if you think the enemies are going to bring in some mounted troops, then you can always go back to something like this, like 3k Reapers, back to 1250 Warlords, and just fill in the rest with your riders. But if you see the enemy troops are going more heavy too with their mounted troops, you can just remove your warlords and fill a 50-50 composition like this. It really depends on what your enemy is bringing against you. I'm just having a great time with this composition against all my enemies. I am kind of having a universal formula going on here. If you aren't playing Gundabad, you also have a more universal approach, which would be looking kind of something like this. You will equip your crushers because they bring a debuffing mechanic to the table. It will be minus defenses. If you look on armor break, it will be a minus 20 defenses if you have maxed it out. This is what I'm looking for. Don't lead a lot of crushers. I think 2000 is enough. They will be tanking also. And then looking at our riders, we see they are not just only tanky, they have lots of HP. They also do a decent amount of damage. And they are a good counter against mounted units, which you will be facing a lot towards the end game. But you can also have some Reapers as your damage dealers here. They are a universal troop in my opinion. You just need to make sure they survive. And since Gorbag is so good in damage mitigation, that's enabling your Reapers to go crazy. So what I think always works is, as a formula, having at least 3000 Reapers in your comp, as well as 2000 Crushers, and the rest is totally up to whatever your enemy is bringing against you. If they go heavy with mounted units, just fill in with some bargain riders. If you don't think that they will be bringing mounted units, you can also use your arbalists. They are orcs too. They also deal great damage. And that's it basically. Just have to be flexible with your team composition. But yeah, this has been working out great for me. And I think Gundabad is the best faction for Gorbag to go to. Warlords are such beasts to have. And Gorbag is enabling them with madness immunity and also providing sustainability with damage mitigation and healing. And that's it, guys. Gorbag is a beast. You won't do anything wrong if you choose Gorbag and push him towards high respect levels. Go with your Gorbag. He is a beast. If you enjoyed this video, guys, let me know by leaving a like and consider subscribing. I see you guys next time.